Hey everyone, hope you're doing great because the AI world definitely isn't slowing down. In fact, it just exploded again. We already had Gemini 3, then GPT-5 codex drops, and now a brand new challenger has entered the arena, Opus 4.5, and trust me, this one is wild. Early results show it might actually be the strongest model we've seen for coding, app building, and startup workflows. So today, we're diving into what this model can really do, how it compares to the giants, and whether it's worth your attention. But if you're new here, I'm Reze, and on this channel, we explore everything about AI, tech, and business. Alright, let's jump straight into the reveal of Opus 4.5, because this one might change the game. Okay, now let's talk about benchmarks and model comparison. Claude's new model is especially impressive for developers. One of the best benchmarks for evaluating coding model is the SWE Agent Coding Benchmark. And this model scored 80.9. Here we see Gemini 3 Pro scored 76, and GPT 5.1 Codec, which launched with a lot of hype last week, scored 77.9, basically 78. So Claude's new model is noticeably ahead. From what I've seen on social media, people who got early accesses are extremely satisfied with it, especially in long decision-making tasks and multi-step actions. For example, building a full application from zero to a working product just takes a few hours. If you want to use the API, the pricing is unfortunately about double Gemini Pro's price. Gemini Pro was $2 input, $12 output per million tokens, but Claude's new model cost $5 for input, $25 per output per million tokens. Still, the results speak for themselves. Developers on GitHub and other platforms are genuinely surprised by how strong this model is. The previous version was Sonnet, but now we have Opus 4.5. In real-world evaluation, meaning tests they conduct with actual people, the model was tested for 2 hours. They gave the same task to the human participants and the model. And Claude's new model was the only model that outperformed all the human testers and delivered better results. By looking at the overall benchmark results on Agentic code, it beats other models. On Agentic terminal, it scores 59.3, which is a big improvement. It is a big improvement over the previous Sonnet-based version that scored 50. That's nearly 10-point jump, which is very impressive. On Agentic code tools, it scored 98.2, which is extremely high. We also get into other tools and benchmarks, but for now, so far, this model is clearly showing strong performance. Now let's talk about social media reactions and pricing. In some benchmarks, GPT 5.1 actually performs better than Opus 4.5, but when you look at the broader benchmark set, Claude's new model still stands out. Next, we have SWE benchmark, which we talked about earlier. There's also multilingual benchmark testing performance across different languages. And in almost all language models except PHP, Claude's new model outperforms the other models. Now moving to coding tasks, it managed to pass 89.4% of the tests. Of course, benchmarks keeps evolving and results can shift as they get updated, but right now the numbers are very strong. Next is the deep research engine, the part of the model that designs specifically for research tasks. It is scored 72.9, which is a big improvement over the previous versions. And then we have Vending Bench, which shows 4.96. This benchmark is displayed using Scale Simulator to $967, but it's not actually about money. It's how the score is represented. We'll talk more about that later. What matters is this. In the categories where Claude compared itself directly, like the Deep Research Agent and Vending Bench, it is still scored lower than Grok and Gemini Pro. For example, Gemini Pro scored about 600.5, which is significantly higher. But moving forward, Claude's team has done a good job improving the model's safety features. Lower hallucination rate, better resistance to prompt injection, harder to force the model into unwanted actions, less likely to reveal restricted information. These improvements makes the model more robust and safer for real-world use. Now let's talk about new tools for non-developers. Claude has also introduced a set of new tools aimed at people who aren't developers, those who work with browsers, documents, spreadsheets, and office tools. The first one is Cloud works in your browser. This feature brings AI agents directly into your browser. What does that mean is you can ask an AI to check something, summarize something, and perform an action, and it does it much better than before. Even more interesting, you can ask it to perform tasks in a background while you continue doing something else. For example, you're working on your computer and tell Claude to finish this task in the background. And once it's done, it brings you the results. This capability is weak or almost non-existent in other models right now. It can also handle end-to-end tasks. For example, you can tell it to schedule a meeting. It will check your calendar, check the other person's calendar, and free a time slot, and then set up a meeting. Fully automated. You can use all of this through a browser extension that you can install on your browser. The second one, Claude for Excel. They also introduced a tool specifically for Excel, but you need to be careful if you're doing to let AI edit your file, make a backup copy so nothing gets overwritten or corrupted. What does this tool do? Claude can now understand Excel structures, rows, columns, a data inside the sheet, and you can ask to run scenarios or extract insights. For example, here's my employee data. Analyze it and list employees who had the highest salaries last year. Here's my financial sheet. Calculate my profit and loss. Perform these operations on my financial report. It executes these tasks automatically. You can even drag and drop elements, define a column, and the AI will work with it, making everyday spreadsheet work much faster. This is one of best examples of how AI can be used in daily workflows, and Claude has introduced dedicated tools that are optimized specifically for this purpose. Let's go to part 5, new developer features. Claude has introduced 3 major new features specifically for developers. Let's break them down. Number 1 is tool search. Here's the idea. When you're coding and need to use a tool or library, Claude can now search for the right tool first and then start reasoning with it. In a previous Sonnet model, and basically all older models, the AI would start thinking, then try to find tools, and they continue reasoning. But in the new model, the work is in reverse. First, it finds the right tools, then it starts reasoning, and finally executes. This approach uses less context, responds faster, and gives you much more accurate results. They demonstrated this by giving the same task to Sonnet and the new Opus 4.5 model. Sonnet cost over $4 in tokens, and Opus completed the same task for under $1 and used for less context, so the new model is much more efficient. Claude says it can currently integrate with 35 GitHub tools, 11 stack tools, and 5 Sentry tools, and even more, all synced automatically. And it only needs 26,000 tokens to use all 35 GitHub tools, which is extremely efficient. Now let's go to number 2, Programmatic Tools. This feature lets you pre-plan how the model should call different tools. Older models couldn't do this. You couldn't define a detailed plan for how tools should be executed step by step. But now you can set a budget, control the workflow, build more complex application, manage sequences of tool calls. This basically allows developers to design structured, predictable pipelines. Number 3, tool use example, or we can say tool use templates. This new feature standardized how the model handles inputs. Before, we had to hack around this. Sometimes the model followed the structures, sometimes it didn't. But now the output is guaranteed to match your schema. This is extremely helpful for developers building real apps or workflows. Regarding the technical details of these new features, we're planning to host a weekly meetup so developers can gather and dive deeper into everything, especially the parts related to building applications, coding workflows, and advanced use cases. If you're interested in joining those sessions, which are completely free, make sure to join the Telegram channel, and we make announcements there. The link to the Telegram channel is in the video description. I hope you get the chance to try this model yourself. From what I've seen so far, it's genuinely impressive. On social media, the feedback has been extremely positive. everyone's talking how good it is. I did a small test myself since the model was only released 2 days ago, and I'm recording this video right after it. I haven't had time to use this deeply on my own codebase yet, but it definitely feels like a very strong model. Honestly, it might be the best model for coding right now. We've always relied on cloud models for developers' work, and they've consistently been among the best. And this new version seems to continue the trend. I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Let me know what results you got and how it performs for you. Thanks for watching this far. Make sure you liked and subscribe. You already know the drill. Drop your comments below. Take care. Have a good day.